Hello, Rene. Hello, hello, hello. How are you doing today?
Hola, Magia. I am great. I am great. How are you?
Did you survive the big storms and everything? How was it?
Yeah, the media people are a little sensationalist sometimes. Although I will say some of the other states did suffer a little bit more because we had a ton of rain. It was really only a hurricane. So there's five levels of hurricanes, just like the five levels of leadership that we're talking about.
Okay.
Um,
Don't tell me
and
you were on level 4.
only level one.
Okay.
Only level one. So that means that the winds were only like maximum gust of 80 miles an hour, right? Which is
Okay.
still kind of gusty, right? But what we had a lot of was rain and rain and rain. And Florida is very sandy, so there's not a lot of absorption. Like it'll absorb, but it'll saturate very quickly and then there's a lot of water everywhere. But Floridians, by and large, are very used to hurricanes. I would say. I mean, it sounds terrible to say that you're used to natural disasters, but so I would say that thankfully we really didn't. I think we overall the state did okay. A couple of other states did had a little bit more damage. There were some losses of life, which is always horrible, but it was not too dangerous in this area. It was dangerous in some of the other areas. Yeah.
The only hurricane that I survived in my life was in Florida. It was, I think, 2 years ago. I
Yeah.
think I
When
was
you were
in
here.
Orlando.
Yes.
You remember that? I
Yes.
think I
Yes.
visited
Yes.
you.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Yes, that was the only hurricane in my life. It wasn't very scary though, because I think I did spend it mostly in a hotel,
Yeah.
and it wasn't that crazy. So yeah, uh, but I've seen pictures, and obviously media is trying, you know, is making
They
a big
picked the
fuss
worst
out.
pictures. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I've heard today, yesterday, or the day before, I've heard from someone that bad. Um, like any bad emotions are very clickable, very create a lot of
Hmm.
attention
Yeah.
more
In
than
the
a good
media or
emotion. So
yes.
if you want to create a lot of viral, kind of a messaging, I mean, they obviously pick the worst pictures, and that is creating the interest from the
Hmm.
audience.
Hmm.
Just sad, and not really my preferred way of looking at the
Yeah.
media and the news.
Yeah.
I was in Barcelona.
Tell me about Barcelona. That's joyful. I
That's
find
very
Barcelona.
joyful.
That's very
Barcelona
joyful.
is fantastic. I mean, the weather was very, very hot, and people were
Mhm.
complaining that actually the air condition was not really working in many places. So I think the climate change is also hitting the
Yeah.
Barcelona.
Mhm.
And one thing that I'm a big proponent, or protector of all the trees
Mhm.
around my
Mhm.
house. So
Mhm.
whenever people are trying to cut something out, I always kind of a protest
Yeah.
against that, and I try to
Yeah.
preserve as much of the greenery. And in Barcelona, I could feel, on the streets.
Mm.
If you walk on the street in Barcelona, if I, like within this week, whenever there was no shade, it was absolutely impossible. But
Mhm.
when there were trees and you could walk in the shade, it was actually pretty okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I met a couple of friends in Barcelona. I met
Mm.
Alex, I met Idris, and I met uh, Gabriela.
Mhm.
We had a drink, and we've been talking about the famous trip that we had several years
Yeah.
ago in Munich. Renee, if you remember this one
Yes.
still, that
Yes,
was.
that's where I almost died in the Autobahn because Ozer was driving like he was in the Autobahn. So,
I mean, Alex was also talking only about that. He
yeah.
was only talking about this particular. So Ezer became a famous driver for driving super fast, and apparently,
And trying
you
to
know,
eat Swedish fish while he was driving, while he was trying to look at his phone for directions. This was very scary. This was frightening. Yeah.
I told Alex that this is the day when you actually acknowledge the fact that I'm a much better driver and
Much
I'm a
better.
safe driver, right? From that day
Well,
onwards,
I'm
driving with
I'm
you
not
is a
sure I
success.
used the word safe, but you're much better. Yeah. Yeah. No, fairly safe. I would say fairly safe.
Uh,
Otherwise, I wouldn't get in the car with you over and over again. But yes, I love Ozer. Ozer, wherever you are, I love you, but I'm never getting in a car with you again. It's just not going to happen.
I'm wondering how he's doing. I need to give him a call, and I think I got an invitation to visit Munich of course, the first week of October.
Of course,
So I will for sure go and visit Özer and
you will sacrifice to go to Oktoberfest, and yeah, I
oh, I
got
will
you.
go. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yes,
somebody has to do it. Yeah,
somebody has
somebody
to
has
do
to
it.
sacrifice. Yeah.
Yeah. So if anybody from our listeners is in October, between the 1st and the 3rd of October, I'm gonna be there, and I'm gonna yes, one of the evenings I'm already reserved, but other than that, I'm open for dinners and a discussion. So good trip, and tomorrow actually I'm going with my because we also are benefiting from the fact that our kids went on camp. My
Uh-huh.
while I was in Barcelona, Małgosia had to deal with all our three daughters and delivering them safely to the different, kind of places and locations.
Mhm.
Uh, and that means that tomorrow we can go and fly. We're gonna fly to Sofia, to
Oh,
Bulgaria.
nice. I have never been. It's on my list of places to visit. Yes.
Believe it or not, I've never been to Bulgaria. So
Wow.
I called a friend of mine,
Mhm.
Margarita. She's from HPE,
Mhm.
uh, and when she heard about the fact that I'm coming, she was obviously we're gonna go for dinner tomorrow.
Yeah,
We're
yeah.
gonna spend some time
Mhm.
with her boyfriend, and then she gave me a lot of recommendations for the hiking in Bulgaria. So
Mm.
for the first time, I'm gonna be in Bulgaria for the first time, and we're gonna go hiking in Bulgaria. So
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to it.
Take lots of pictures.
I
Yes.
will, and I'll post them probably.
Yes.
Anyway, we have a topic for today, and the topic is the level 4 of the leadership levels from the Maxwell. Um,
Yes. Let's remind everyone. Here's the book that we've been talking about for the
and I have the
past
picture as
3
well,
weeks.
obviously. Yes.
Yeah, that's the picture with the levels. Yes, that's much better than my showing you the book pages.
So we already went from position to permission to production. Last week was a production,
Mhm.
and this week we're gonna talk about the people development, the level number 4.
Yes, and when you read the book, because everybody should read the book, right? Because just hearing it from us is not enough. They call it reproduction, right? Production to reproduction, but the reproduction doesn't translate well in every language. So it really means people development. When you really start producing results through teaching other people how to produce results, right? So reproduction.
That's an
Mhm.
interesting angle. That's an
Yes.
interesting angle. I like
Hmm.
the people development because I
Hmm.
really and the definition. Maybe it's too small on this slide. I have a bigger definition of this.
Hmm.
Uh, it's people follow you not because of your results, position, or whatever else. People follow you because something that you've done for them.
Hmm.
Uh,
Hmm.
And I'll remind you, Renee, this is the first time that I've heard about you at HPE was that Renee is finding out talent and helps people to develops talent in the organization. So I think
Hmm.
there were a lot of people at HPE, and there are still a lot of people out there, as I can hear from a number of comments when we are meeting with people that
Hmm.
follow you and like to kind of support you and support your activities, the clean canvas consulting, and a business that you are pushing because of the support that you have offered, development that you offered to them. It's a very, very, very important element.
Yeah, it's interesting. I just had a wrap up session for a client yesterday. He's been with me for 10 weeks. And um, one of the things that brings me the biggest pieces of joy is to hear from people like him. And he basically, his one of his comments was that he now felt so empowered that he had the tools to be successful on his we always do it together, right? We always, but I never want to have a client that spends time with me that becomes dependent on my help, right? My goal, and hopefully, and the goal of many other coaches, and what I hope many other leaders give to their people, is the tools for them and the ability for them to access their inner strength, their knowledge, their skill sets to continue to be successful in whatever they choose. And that is what people development really should be focused on. And by the way, it's never ending, right? Now, and what I bring by that is you as us as human beings are always evolving and growing and learning new things. And in that regard, yes, I have repeat clients that come and learn new things. But I want you to always walk away with a new tool in your toolbox to access yet a different level of achievement, attainment, whether it's in your career or in your personal life, right? But yeah.
Yes, it's as we see here on the in the definition is, it's the tools, the capabilities, the development that is empowering other people to reach their full potential.
Hmm.
Something that every manager should do. Look for, for the things that their people are good at,
Hmm.
and then help them to leverage those capabilities, and
Hmm.
address some of the shortcomings, so they can take it to the next level. And that comes with empowerment, that comes with the, like support, that comes with also the recognition. I'm a
Hmm.
big fan of recognition, so it
Hmm.
also comes with the recognition for the things that people do really well, and that
Yeah.
helps them to develop. Yeah.
Yeah. And one of the things that is very important in this topic is leaders themselves need to be constantly growing and investing on their development, but they also need to be very secure in their value add and in their place in the organization and in the world. But in this case, right, within the organization, because what you do see sometimes across the organization is when you have leaders that don't feel a sense of security on what they bring, they will try to prevent or stop, or they just won't make an effort to develop their people because they're afraid that their people will surpass their own knowledge or their own achievement, or maybe one day will become their boss. And I would tell you that should be the greatest compliment as a leader, if one day one of your people actually achieves more than you did, right? So yeah.
I want to protest against calling people that, like, that don't develop their organization
Mhm.
leaders. I don't think that they
Yes.
are. To be honest,
Yes. Good
there
point.
are a mistake in
Hmm.
the selection
Yeah.
process.
Yeah.
This is, like, I can understand a lot of kind of a challenges
Hmm.
that people might have, but
Hmm.
if as a somebody that runs an organization, let me use this kind of a phrase, you
Yeah.
don't invest time and effort, or actually what you described, Rene, correct me if I'm wrong, was preventing people from development, because there's,
Hmm.
like, different stages. I know we're getting into nuances, but
Hmm.
thanks goodness, I think only once I came across a manager that was preventing my development. This
Hmm.
particular person was actively disconnecting me and limiting my ability to, kind of use my strengths. That
Hmm.
was only once in my career.
Hmm.
Uh, I've had managers that did not invest,
Hmm.
like, they were not super supportive of what I was trying to, like, my own development. Uh, well, nobody's perfect. Maybe
Hmm.
but they were not preventing. Okay,
Hmm.
I'll still
Hmm.
call them a good managers, good leaders, and
Hmm.
people that it was a very good collaboration. Some of them were good bosses. I'm
Hmm.
not everything, But the guys that I remember forever are the ones who actually actively invested in my development.
Mhm. Mhm.
A good example is Tim Peters. Tim Peters
Yes.
was
Mhm.
extremely supportive. He carried a lot of following from the SMB
Mhm.
organization and
Mhm.
beyond, because
Mhm.
this
Mhm.
guy really took care of the people development to a
Yep.
point where he was proactively empowering me and giving me additional responsibilities.
Mm.
And we had many times kind of a discussions about what else can be done, how can we kind of.
Yeah.
He was the one who really put an effort. George Hope was another one that, from the
Mhm.
most recent bosses that I had,
Mhm.
he was extremely supportive of. He even hired an executive coach for me to help me
Mhm.
to address some of the shortcomings. So
Mhm.
maybe that was more addressing some of the problems that I had, rather than
Mhm.
But he was also very supportive in the people development. So those are the good bosses. But
Yeah.
I also had managers that were not investing. I don't
Mhm.
feel particularly bad. I just feel like they didn't support me, but only once. And I refuse to call this kind of characters leaders, because
Mhm.
if somebody is preventing an organization from developing just because they are insecure or afraid or malicious,
Mhm.
they shouldn't be called leaders. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah, I absolutely agree. And sometimes some people are not necessarily malicious, but they're counting pennies. And when you cut back on people development because you have some cost reduction pressures, that is a very short-sighted view, because you're going to pay for that in the long run. You cannot cut your way to success, and that is true for people development as well as other areas, right? You really need to invest in your people, in your organization. Yeah, right now we're investing in the tea shop, right? You when you grow and to continue to grow, you have to water the plants, right? You have to provide nutrients. And when it comes to people, that comes in the form of knowledge, experiences. It's not always courses, right? Give people stretch assignments, things that normally they would not get exposed to because they would need to be at a higher leadership level or they would have to be in another country, right? Give them other experiences. Not you don't have to pay for some big executive course or a coach, right? Give people the opportunity, delegate something, right? Give
Yeah,
them exposure.
you moved very quickly from like penny counting to like different options, and I want
Too
to
fast?
stress,
Okay.
because
Okay,
because I
go.
think
Yeah.
that we need to stop here. Like,
Hmm.
if you know your boss that is not investing in your development, or I'm speaking to our audience, right?
Hmm.
Or if you are a boss and you say like, oh yeah, 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 but how can I invest in my people if my company is not giving me money
Hmm.
for an MBA courses or executive
Hmm.
coaching for my people? There are many, and Rene started to talk about this. There are many ways of investing in people development
Hmm.
without spending a fortune. Okay. I'm not saying that you shouldn't. I mean, you
Hmm.
still should set aside money and invest in like an executive coach or a
Yeah.
professional coach, or, coaching. Like Clean Canvas Consulting offers a
Yes.
lot of
Hmm.
coaching opportunities, but not everybody will get a coach in your organization. That would be a little bit, like expectation to high expectation. But
Hmm.
there are a lot of opportunities and ways to offer your people a development opportunities through extra assignments, interesting assignments. So not dumping boring
Right.
stuff on them, okay?
Right. Right.
But standing in for you
Hmm.
when you go on vacation, standing in for you and making a decisions for you,
Hmm.
running a presentation, running, a presentation in front of your leaders, your bosses,
Yeah.
empower them
Yeah.
to represent you.
Hmm.
Okay, maybe I, what I thought was always a great development opportunity was getting getting students for internship,
Yes. Hmm.
somebody to run this kind of a group of
Yep.
people, right? To
Hmm.
maybe even one
One
student, to
intern.
coach
Yep.
one student and help him to on board and understand, and then
Hmm.
kind of help this new, even short-term employee
Hmm.
to get the max to maximize, okay, what they do. Um, so there are a lot of ways of developing people without having to spend a fortune, especially in the larger organizations.
Hmm. Hmm.
We spoke about this, Renee, as well. Volunteering,
Yes.
it's a great development
Yeah.
opportunity.
Hmm.
Encourage people to go and volunteer their knowledge and capabilities, and experience to others. I will never forget this kind of an initiative that Sunjin brought once in the staff meeting, when she was talking like that they have those sessions for the elderly people to
Hmm.
close the digital gap. You don't need to have a big knowledge to share. You just share knowledge of how to configure your mobile phone and how to
Right.
use securely your
Email or
banking
the web.
account
Yeah.
through internet. It's
Hmm.
not For you, it's not a rocket science. For your grandma and her friends,
Yeah.
it's probably the next generation rocket science, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So there are ways, and I don't know. Have we got any other ideas how people can develop?
I was a big fan, and I did it a lot. I would find a 15 or 30-minute YouTube video from on a leadership topic or a particular skill, and we would watch it in a staff call together, and then we would discuss the themes or the key concepts and how those things applied in our workplace. And those were free and fun. And I just facilitated the conversation, but those were probably some of the best development exercises that we did as a team, and it cost the company nothing. But
Exactly.
our 1 hour staff call, which we were going to have anyway. Right?
Yeah, so there are loads of ways that you can invest. I
Mhm.
also have a slide that talks about what you should do as a leader
Mhm.
to kind of skills and
Mhm.
behaviors for you as a leader. So it's coaching, talent selection, motivation, mentoring. So there's a plenty of those kind of words that
Yeah.
talk about what you should do, active listening as a manager, to understand what kind of a development your people need.
Hmm.
Show an
Hmm.
interest. First of all, show an interest. I think in the
Yeah.
larger organization, this is somehow given because you are. Uh, I'm assuming not only HPE did this kind of annual review, kind of a talent review and the employee review, which typically included a question. What is your aspiration? What are you
Hmm.
planning to do? How
Hmm.
can I help your development? That was kind of a coded into the questions that the
Yeah.
manager should ask. So it's a little bit easier.
Yeah.
But even if you're running a smaller organization, invite your people for a dinner every now and then
Hmm.
individually, and ask them how they want to get developed. How can you help them to drive their career, okay?
Hmm.
And as you say, Renee, I think one of the best thing is to see those your employees to become somebody bigger and better, and maybe one day become your boss.
Hmm.
um, Never happened to me, so maybe I wasn't. I still have some
No, no,
work to
no.
do.
Me neither, right? But I think for you and me, I always tried to really challenge myself and push myself out of a job, right? So I was always trying to look for the next thing. Not It's not necessarily, of course, I was ambitious, and there's no shame in that, but it was because of the challenge, right? I wanted to continue to challenge myself and get into uncomfortable places so I can learn new things. When you're in a job for too long, you kind of get comfortable, and that's a dangerous place to be in.
I think I had a different strategy. I think I told you I was always looking for some more fun. Okay,
Yeah.
so I believe that people should go to work not only because of a salary, but also because they want to
Hmm.
have fun.
Hmm.
And I was moving to different jobs across different places because I wanted to find something interesting, new and interesting to have fun. So
Mhm.
I'm not constantly sitting in the same. I mean, all my jobs, kind of were around selling and channel
Yeah.
development and channel collaboration always. Uh, but uh, but generally speaking, like I've been in the pricing, marketing,
Mhm.
business development, P&L management, sales, channel sales. So
Mhm.
many different places. Not because I was very ambitious to go to the next level, but because I was looking for some fun
Yeah.
position to uh, and obviously progress my career and
Mhm.
my
Mhm.
salary, increase my salary. Yeah,
Yeah.
everybody should do that.
Yes. The channel is fascinating, by the way, and a plug for channel people, right? It's infinitely evolving, and it, it's just never ending, right? There's so many things you can do, and you build so many great relationships, and there's so many bright people, and you get to make a variety of alliances, and every business is like a micro, it's so different. So it's a wonderful place to have been able to be a part of. And now at Clean Canvas Consulting, we're still a part of that, right? We still work with a lot of channel partners, and I love the passion and the innovation, and the grit it takes, because a lot of the channel partner owners are small businesses, and so it's like having the best of two worlds, right? You get to work with that SMB startup mode, and then also kind of the beautiful intricacies of building a channel business and making model in this multiple tiered model with a lot of alliances with technology. So you're kind of in the cutting edge of all the stuff. So it's fascinating.
That is very true. That is very true.
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't seen any hellos or questions or what name you today.
Mm.
So maybe it's a little bit late for the Europeans, and maybe it's a little bit
Yeah.
middle of the day
It's
for
not our
the.
usual time. Yeah, it's not our usual Thursdays. And so I think whenever we surprise our viewers, it's harder for them to. But I do get the comments and the direct messages and the replays and the likes and people that watch the replays. So I know they're out there. I know they're watching.
Yes. Thanks, Renee. Next week we're gonna have our standard. It's
The
a public
five
holiday in
level
Poland, but I will be working next week, so we're gonna have our standard
regular
hour,
Thursday. Yeah,
and we're
yeah.
gonna be talking about the level 5. So,
I know.
and then I can go on vacation because then I will be on vacation for 2 weeks. So there'll be a little bit of a
Yes.
break,
Yes.
and so next week we speak again. Yeah.
Yes. Excellent. I'll see you next week. Bye,
Thank
everybody.
you
We
so
hope to
much.
see you next week.
Bye.